Is Texas back to being a college football playoff contender? Let's dive in on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK, Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin local, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We will ask the question, did the Texas offense find its identity against Oklahoma? And also the SEC handed out a few honors to the Longhorns following their big win over Oklahoma. We'll get to those topics a little bit later. But today's question, did the Oklahoma game do enough to make you believe again? There was all sorts of hope and optimism going into the 2025 season. Of course, preseason number one, coming off back-to-back trips to the CFP semifinals, the start of the Arch Manning era. The hype surrounding this Texas team was louder than it's ever been. And then Ohio State happened. And then a few weeks later, Florida happened. And all of a sudden, Texas is sitting at 3-2 and outside the top 25. Felt like a lot of Longhorn fans jumped ship and started turning their attention to 2026. And let's be honest, there were a ton of Texas fans predicting an Oklahoma win on Saturday. Well, after Texas 23, Oklahoma 6, are you back on board? Do you believe that Texas can do enough to make the 12-team playoff? I can tell you one thing, Steve Sarkisian isn't losing confidence. He never has. I don't think he ever will. Here's Coach Sark after the game on Saturday talking about the OU game being a potential sign of what's to come for the Longhorns the rest of the way.
We're 1-1 in the SEC. I said this last week. I don't think people wanted to hear me when I said it. We were 0-1 in the SEC last week. We won the conference a year ago in the regular season by going 7-1 in conference play. If we can play the way we played today, we're plenty good enough to compete with any team in our conference. But we got to play that way. And just as I told the team in the locker room, we have more work to do, right? We're going to celebrate this until we get back to Austin, and then we're going to switch gears. We're going to get ready for Kentucky at night, and it's going to be a tough environment. It's going to be a hard-nosed football game. But that's what this conference requires. It requires mental and physical toughness week in and week out. And so the way we prepared this week for this game is the way we need to prepare for next week's game. It's going to take the same. And so we don't have time now to take a deep breath and relax. We've got to go further. We got to dig deeper. We got to require more and demand more as coaches, and the players got to give more. And that's what it takes in this conference. But if we can play this way, surely we're good enough to put ourselves in position to win a lot more football games.
He's right. It's just one game. It feels a lot bigger than that, but the Longhorns are now 4 days away from taking the field again against an SEC opponent. But he's right about all of that. I mean, Texas right now is a one-loss team in the SEC. Last year, they were a one-loss team in the SEC, and that was enough to get them to Atlanta. Hell, Texas was the only one-loss team in the SEC's regular season in 2024. If you go 7-1 in this conference, you are guaranteed a spot in the ATL in December. If you're 6-2, you've got a shot. I mean, that's what Georgia was last year, and it was enough. Now, Georgia wasn't the only 6-2 team in the SEC a season ago. Tennessee also had that record. The Dogs got in because they had a head-to-head victory over the Volunteers a season ago. So 7-1, I think you're locked in. 6-2, obviously you need the rest of the league to start to cannibalize itself, but you've got a shot. So the question is, can Texas go 6-0 or 5-1 the rest of the way? They're 1-1 right now in the SEC. Here's the good news. The Longhorns are going to be favored in their next 3 games. At Kentucky this weekend, the Horns opened up as a 12.5-point favorite, according to our friends at FanDuel. The line's gone down a little bit since Sunday, but zero doubt in my mind that Texas will close as the favorite in that game. Kentucky is 0-3. They are the worst team in the SEC. They're 2-3 overall, 0-3 in the conference. This is a game Texas should absolutely win. next weekend in Starkville to take on Mississippi State. Perhaps not as easy of a game as we thought going into the year, but I fully expect the Longhorns to be favored in that one as well. News came out yesterday that that'll be an afternoon kick, not a night kick. I know some of y'all were worried about a Saturday night game in Stark Vegas. It'll instead be Saturday afternoon, so perhaps that increases Texas's chances there. And then, of course, after those two road games, finishing up this wild month of October where Texas will go more than 40 days without a game at DKR, the Horns return home November 1st to take on Vanderbilt. It's a ranked Vandy team. Vandy plays LSU this weekend. They play Missouri next weekend. If the Commodores are still ranked after those two, we'll know those dudes are for real. But with the game being in Austin, I fully expect the Longhorns to be favored there. All three of those are winnable games for Texas. And if you win those, you're 7-2 on the year, and you're 4-1 in league play, and things look a lot better going into bye week number 2. Of course, after that second bye, a pretty tough stretch to end the year at Georgia, home Arkansas, home Texas A&M. I mean, Georgia, top 10 team in the country right now. Arkansas is not very good. They've already fired their coach, but it is a rivalry game. And then, of course, Texas A&M, the highest ranked team in the SEC right now. Rivalry game at home against a top 5 team in college football. Obviously, those 3 games are a ways away. But knowing that, and knowing what you saw from the Longhorns on Saturday, I'll ask it again. Are you bought back in on the 2025 Texas Longhorns? I can tell you one thing. The second half that Texas played at the Cotton Bowl gives me plenty of reason to believe. Hell, for the defense, it was the entire game that resold me on them, keeping Oklahoma out of the end zone, giving up just 6 points total. I mean, the Sooners didn't even reach the freaking red zone. Forget the end zone. They didn't even get inside the red zone on Saturday. That is defensive dominance. 3 takeaways, could have been more. 5 sacks, 7 TFLs. The Sooners ran for less than 2 yards a carry. That defense showed up. And that version of the Texas defense, which is what we've seen in every game except for Florida, is going to give the Longhorns a chance in every game that they play moving forward. The second half, the offense showed me a lot of promise. Arch Manning, talk about grit, talk about moxie. Yeah, he showed up, played an incredibly smart football game. 0 turnovers, 0 turnover-worthy plays. So clutch on third down. He was 11 of 12 on third down passes against one of the best defenses in America, and he took what the defense gave him. I thought Arch Manning showed a ton of maturity. Haven't always seen that from him this year. I thought he showed a ton of maturity, didn't take unnecessary risk, played within the offense, was incredibly accurate with the football, made a lot of things happen. I still don't think the offensive line in front of him played all that great. Arch Manning did his job, more than did his job, again, against an elite defense. That version of number 16 can win you some football games. That Sooner defense is elite. I think Georgia is the only team left on this Texas schedule that may have a defense as good as that one. Saw Tennessee put up 40 against Georgia a few weeks ago. A&M's got a good defense too. I want to be ragging on other teams here, but that's how good I think this Oklahoma defense is. And you saw Arch play like that. Trey Wisner had his best game of the year. It's the healthiest he's looked all season. Hopefully you get CJ Baxter back. Sounds like the plan is for him to practice all week and be back on the field in Lexington on Saturday. The new look offensive line, Nick Brooks showing some promise at left guard, only 4 penalties as a team. Like, you see that version of the Texas offense playing clean football, playing ahead of the chains, being able to run the ball effectively enough and not turning it over. That's going to give you a chance. You don't need to go for 40 points per game to win games. Your defense is going to give you a shot. If you offense like that, you will be okay. Obviously saw Ryan Niblett make a splash on special teams. I trust the kicker, Mason Shipley, even though he missed a couple of long field goals on Saturday. I just really liked what I saw from Texas in that second half, and I hope that sparks what can be a very strong second half of the year. I never want to put too much stock into one game, and we've often seen the Texas OU game not be a determinant of what the rest of the year looks like for either side, but I still believe Texas can make a run at this thing. I picked Texas to beat Oklahoma all last week, and I still think this is one of the most talented teams in the country. I still trust in Steve Sarkisian and the rest of this coaching staff. Are they a flawless football team? No, absolutely not. And they've got some things that they're going to have to deal with all season long. But is this group good enough to make a run and get a spot in the 12-team college football playoff? Yes. Is this group good enough to make a run and find their way to Atlanta for their second consecutive year for an SEC championship game? Yeah, I think they have what it takes. It just starts with seeing more of what we saw in the second half against Oklahoma. What say you? Are you still skeptical? You're saying, hey, BK, that's their first win against a Power 4 team. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Or are you confident that that can be the start of a special second half push for this Longhorn team? Comment below if you're watching on YouTube. All right, let's dive more into the Texas offense. Did the Longhorn offense finally develop an identity this past weekend? I think they did. We'll talk about it next right here on Locked On Longhorns. Oh, but first, a shout out to our friends at Wayfair. The holidays are going to be here before you know it, which is exciting. But getting your home ready for guests and celebrations can feel like a lot. Maybe your serveware needs a refresh. Maybe the guest room needs some new bedding. Wayfair has everything you need to get your home holiday ready. From Christmas trees and wreaths to bedding, cookware, and outdoor inflatables, this is your one-stop shop for every room inside the house and out. Wayfair makes it easy to personalize your home for the holidays with a huge selection for every style and every budget. And with free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff, you can get everything you need without the hassle of huge delivery fees. And y'all know, the closer we get to the holidays, the more people ramp up those delivery fees. You don't have to worry about that with our friends at Wayfair. Instead of stressing about getting the house ready, you can actually enjoy the holidays with friends and family thanks to Wayfair. So get organized, refreshed, and ready for the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. It's Wayfair, every style, every home. And also some love to our friends at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and our friends at FanDuel have an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you're going to unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play: parlays, same game bets, player props, live betting as well. More ways to win than anybody else. So whether you're a casual fan or you're a diehard like me, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much more enjoyable. So what are you waiting for? Head over to FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Now, the box score numbers for the Texas offense against Oklahoma probably aren't going to blow anybody away. 302 yards of total offense, less than 170 yards of passing, only one play of more than 30 yards in the entire game. I mean, we're not talking about the flashiest numbers here, but I was very impressed by what the Horns did on that side of the football on Saturday. And specifically, the situational ball for Texas. It was so good against a defense that had been so situationally good themselves all year. I mean, Texas was able to hit Oklahoma in ways that they had not been hit in their first 5 games. Going into Saturday, OU was only allowing a 17% conversion rate on third down. Texas, 59% on third down, including 8 for 11 in the second half. On the year, OU had only allowed 12 total third down conversions in 5 games. Texas had 10 third down conversions in this one alone. And again, 8 of them in the second half. The Sooners were 6th in the country in opposing quarterback completion percentage, 52%. Arch Manning, 21 of 27. That's about 78%. Again, he played really, really well. OU, first in the country in sacks per game at 4.2. Texas allowed just 1. The Sooners forced 8 punts per game through their first 5 weeks. Texas only punted 2 times on Saturday. That'll work. Like, Texas nickeled and dimed its way down the field multiple times. It had to feel like death by 1,000 cuts for that OU defense, especially as the game wore on in the second half. And we've talked about this a little bit so far this week. The 2 drives that the Longhorn offense had in the third quarter, one went 14 plays for a touchdown, took more than 7 minutes off the clock. The other one, 13 plays ended up in a field goal that bled into the fourth quarter. I mean, Texas ran 25 plays in quarter number 3. Oklahoma ran just 4. And if Ryan Niblett wasn't so selfish, and he didn't take that punt return to the house, Texas could have done that even more in the fourth quarter. Kidding, obviously. We'll take the punt return touchdown. But it just felt like Texas had found something on offense in the second half, and they were pretty much getting whatever they wanted against the Sooners. So not the flashiest in the stats, but I think it's patient. I think it's winning offense. Some may call it boring. I'll call it patient. I will call it winning. I don't think Texas only plans on attempting one deep shot in future games, but what I do think Texas plans on doing, and what I think can help this offense really reach its full potential, finally reach its full potential, it's playing turnover-free, disciplined, line of scrimmage football. Like, we know that Arch can throw the deep ball, and those opportunities will be coming. What we didn't know before Saturday was that Texas can play that sort of boring style of offense and do it successfully. They did against Oklahoma. You know, we talked about this last week. Like, I wanted Texas to employ more of a short passing game because I just didn't trust this offensive line, and I thought the Oklahoma defense was going to set up to prevent big explosive plays over the top. I was curious, though, if Texas could actually do it. Quinn Ewers was elite on those short and intermediate throws. Arch Manning, we hadn't really seen him do that a whole lot. We definitely didn't see it against Florida when he was averaging more than 20 yards average depth of target on his passes. Quinn Ewers was really good at that. Arch Manning on Saturday against Oklahoma, 15 for 15 on passes of 5 yards or less. I don't want that just to be a one-off. That quick game, those screen passes, some of the things that made this Texas offense really click in the Quinn Ewers era these last couple of years, we saw Arch Manning do that at a very high level on Saturday. And I'll be honest, guys, more college football games are lost than won. And Texas's offensive refusal to offer turnover potential or short fields to aid a struggling Sooner offense meant Texas was going to win. Like, the final outcome almost felt accomplished after the opening third quarter touchdown drive. It really felt accomplished after that Ryan Niblett punt return touchdown. With this defense, I said it in segment 1, I'll say it again, you don't need to score 40 points per game. This defense is going to give you a chance every Saturday. If you're smart, you're not committing a bunch of penalties, you're playing ahead of the chains like that, you are going to be okay. And I still think there's way more meat left on the bone for this offense. And I think there's a clear path for Texas to be a lot better than what they were on Saturday. I mean, Arch Manning, he's gotten better. There's no doubt the quarterback we've seen the last 3 weeks is better than the one we saw in weeks 1 through 3 this year. Like, there's no doubt. Arch Manning really struggled against UTEP. Oklahoma employed a very similar style of defense to UTEP, and they were thinking, Arch can't convert and have success against those athletes. How's he going to do that against this scheme and our athletes? Arch proved that he could do it. He was willing to take what the defense gave him. I don't know if he's going to play that clean of a game every week, but again, I think the deep shots are coming, and it's good to know that Arch has the ability to look the way he did. This offensive line continues to gel with Nick Brooks. Brooks, long way to go in pass pro, but he swallowed some people in the run game. I thought he was really good creating some holes, and as this game progressed, Texas started to lean on what I think is the best defensive line in the conference. Outside zone was pretty effective. Maybe Texas found something with the run game. Connor Stroh is not a good enough athlete to run outside zone. You could do that with Nick Brooks. I think that's a big part of why he took over for Connor Stroh going into this game. If CJ Baxter comes back, like, that's a big key because Trey Wisner was a warrior on Saturday. He can't have that type of workload the rest of the way and expect to stay healthy. He's already missed 3 games this year with an injury, so I don't think that's a hot take at all. You have to give him some help. I just don't think the other, James Simon, Jarrett Gibson, Christian Clark, those guys just aren't ready right now. They're not good enough right now to try to compete for an SEC title. You need CJ Baxter back. Again, sounds like he's trending in the right direction, but he needs to stay on the field, not just like come back for a game and then get hurt again. If he could stay on the field, Texas gets that power running option. That can help with that 1-2 punch with Wisner and C4. Texas gets Emmett Mosley more involved in the offense. That's another reliable option in this passing game. Parker Livingston's still there. Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore. Those guys, like, this can work. And I think Steve Sarkisian is finally starting to understand what his quarterback's true strengths are, and also maybe more importantly, what his offensive line's true strengths are. Easy for me to say. I think we saw that change with the way the game plan was called and executed on Saturday. So I know I gave you a lot there, but nothing is like too outlandish. Arch Manning continues to get better. Offensive line, who has been pretty bad for most of the year, if they take small strides, they're never going to be elite, but if they just marginally progress every week, CJ Baxter gets healthy, Emmett Mosley gets more indoctrinated into the offense. These aren't a bunch of crazy things that I'm throwing out there. If these happen, all of a sudden, this offense is going to look a lot more potent. That type of offense, again, with this defense that remains rock solid, there's a path to Texas being an elite team this year. Now, obviously, they just have to go make it happen every single week. But I liked what we saw, difference in game plan, and Texas finding a few things, developing an identity that we have so desperately been searching for here in 2025. What say you? Do you like the game plan? Do you want to see more deep shots? Biggest takeaways from Texas 23, OU 6. All right, one segment left on a Tuesday show. The SEC has given some honors to a few Longhorns following Saturday's win over the Sooners. We will let you know who got awarded coming up next right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a shout out to our friends at Game Time. Oh, yeah, college football is here. I couldn't be more excited. I was at Texas OU in Dallas. What an atmosphere. There is nothing better than that game and that scene at the State Fair of Texas. Going to games just feels different. There's some big games coming up for the Longhorns this year. Actually getting tickets, though, that can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Long lines, hidden fees, prices randomly jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time. That's where I went to buy my tickets for Texas OU. Game Time is the app that gives the advantage back to the fans, the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with zero surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. It's faster, it's cheaper, it's less stressful than any other way I've bought tickets in the past. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, final segment of a Tuesday edition of Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. The Longhorns, of course, took care of business against OU on Saturday, and the SEC took care of Texas by honoring 3 Longhorns in their weekly awards. We will start with Manny Muhammad, who was rightfully named the SEC's Defensive Player of the Week. 2 interceptions, including that massive one on what was basically the final play of the first half. Also had a TFL, also had another PBU. He was all over the field, and man, what a gift getting him back. Texas really missed him in the swamp. Manny Muhammad, maybe the most valuable player on this Longhorn defense. He was everywhere. Dallas area kid who showed up and showed out in front of friends and family and Longhorn Nation, and really the entire college football world that was locked in on Texas OU. Manny Muhammad, well-deserved SEC Defensive Player of the Week accolades. A couple more to talk about. Ryan Niblett got some love, too, for that 75-yard punt return touchdown that kind of felt like a dagger for Texas early in the fourth quarter. Niblett named SEC Co-Special Teams Player of the Week. Well-deserved. Congrats to him. Huge play. Goes without saying. And then last but not least, another Colin Simmons, who's got Co at the start of his name. He was named Co-Defensive Lineman of the Week in the SEC. 2.5 sacks, 5 tackles. He was everywhere. We talked about this yesterday. Texas was using him as a spy on John Mateer a lot. They were dropping him in coverage a lot. And again, getting after the quarterback with those 2.5 sacks. This dude is such a freaking stud. And it had taken Colin Simmons a while to get things going, but now he's got 5 sacks through the first 6 games. He is on pace to be Texas's first double-digit sack guy since Jackson Jeffcoat. It's been a while. It's like Mac Brown era Texas football. That's how long it's been. But Colin Simmons has really put it together these last couple of games. Need more of that, obviously, from the preseason All-American. But, yeah, well-deserved honor for him. Co-defensive lineman of the week in the SEC. So you beat a rival, you beat a top 10 team that was previously undefeated. You're going to get some love from your conference. And not only do you beat them, but you beat them by 3 scores the way that Texas did. Yeah, you're going to get some love from the league. Well deserved. Last thing here. Pro Football Focus has given out some love, too. We've got the 3 highest-rated players for Texas on offense and the 3 highest-rated players for the Longhorn defense from Saturday's win over OU. Starting on the offensive side, Arch Manning, the highest-graded player for Texas with an 86.5. He was the highest-graded player for the offense by a big margin, and rightfully so. He was incredible. 21 of 27 passing, 166 yards. That touchdown, 4 carries for 34 yards. So good situationally, so smart with the football. He did just about everything right in this game, and I'm glad Pro Football Focus has given him his flowers. Again, the box score, not the craziest. You're not going to win the Heisman with those type of numbers, but you are going to win a game against your biggest rival. Arch Manning was sensational. DeAndre Moore, number 2, with a PFF grade of 71.7, 3 catches, 50 yards, and the touchdown that Arch Manning threw. Nice route, nice play concept, and an easy pitch and catch from Arch to DeAndre Moore. We talked about him being a big factor in the short and intermediate passing game. He was for Texas. And then number 3, Trey Wisner. Gotta be. You know, you could have put Trey Wisner with the same grade as Arch Manning, and I wouldn't have had any problem. Wisner was awesome. 22 carries, 94 yards, 5 catches, 34 receiving yards. Felt like every time Texas needed a big play, number 5 was coming through. And God, that 3rd and 7 conversion, that screen pass to the line of scrimmage that he turned into like a 12 or 13-yard game where he just had no problem getting by Robert Spears Jennings and broke another tackle or 2 along the way. Huge. The Sooner Slayer, Quintravion Wisner, deserved that high grade. And then on defense, the 3 highest graded players. How about Lance Jackson, number 1, the true freshman, only played 11 snaps, but had 2 tackles, including a half a sack on Saturday, given an 87 grade, actually the highest grade on the team. Lance Jackson making the most of his limited opportunities. He's going to be a monster. He's already playing a lot as a true freshman, which isn't easy to do, especially considering how deep this Texas edge room is. Lance Jackson later this year and then next year and the year after that, he's going to be one of the most feared pass rushers in the conference. Michael Taft, number 2, 83.5 grade, 9 tackles, had a sack in this game on a safety blitz. Made a lot happen. And then Murad Watson, only 26 snaps, but the transfer defensive tackle, given the 3rd highest grade. I have no idea why Manny Muhammad isn't in the top 3. Probably should have been number 1. He was just named Conference Defensive Player of the Week after all. I think Manny Muhammad was like the 5th highest graded defender for Texas, but I thought he was the Longhorns' best player on that side of the football. Who cares? He'll be fine. And SEC Defensive Player of the Week, that means more than a PFF grade anyways. Everybody on this Texas defense could have earned high marks with what they did against OU. Again, keeping the Sooners not only out of the end zone, but out of the red zone too. That is remarkable. And John Mateer played, right? Oh, yeah, he did. He did play. No excuses, Oklahoma. It's Tuesday, October 14th, 2025, and you guys still suck. Remember that. So good. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. If you made it this far, number 1, God bless you. Number 2, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, all of those great things. Can't thank you all enough for your continued support of Locked On Longhorns. For your next listen, check out Locked On Bets. Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers, they have you covered with all of your sports betting needs, expert analysis, game picks, the lock of the day. They're giving out free picks over there all the time. Find Locked On Bets on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll have more sound from Steve Sarkisian tomorrow. We'll start to turn our attention a little bit more to this weekend's game against Kentucky. But that'll do it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, horns up, mics off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.